It's hard to say, but if I had to take a venture here, I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, look how many factors are at play here. There's a lot happening around, and you're looking at a number of events while you have citizens that are allegedly trying to uphold their value, but law enforcement trying to do their best and their perspective to minimize everything. So I don't know how strong that argument is here. I believe so, because you're struggling with the notion of, well, what does a license to carry mean? A license to carry does not give any individual a license to kill. And I think that's what we're going to see here, and hope that the jury can make this decision for themselves. The theme here, as you said, is technology. So we have to look at not just, what's happening here, but the text messages, the emails, understanding what's being said by these individuals and why. And the smallest text can make a huge difference here. So I think right now it's a game of trying to figure out how much people knew and are blindly turning their heads to now. Shown it's going to be difficult to argue the self-defense from an aggressive standpoint of, you got in the truck, you actively followed this individual. Allegedly, this individual was of such a threat that you felt the need to go above and beyond to terminate that threat. So I think it's going to be very difficult. And as I said earlier, Jesse, a license to carry does not mean you have a license to kill. So I think it's going to be enough. I don't think so. I think, again, it's going to be difficult to argue self-defense here. I mean, if you take a look at the responses that he's giving, law enforcement, it just seems like there's a missing piece. When you chase somebody down with a vehicle, the first thing they're going to think, this person that's being chased, is, I need to protect myself. I need to run. I need to get out of sight. So I just think it's very difficult to move forward with this defense, even though it is a viable defense. But I do not think that at any time you have a potential juror that seems like they are the perfect fit. But in my experience, what I've seen is the biggest asset could also be the biggest liability for the jury as a whole, because, as you said, Jesse, it may seem like there's good intentions here, but how far do those intentions go? And I think right now it's a tough battle for, attorneys on both sides to say, are we getting the right person that we need here? Is this person really here because they want to be? Are they saying what the court wants them to say? Or are they here to really help carry justice forward, whatever direction? Definitely not, Jesse. You can't undo what's already been done. You can't bring this person back. But what this does represent is some sort of attempt by the family to move forward, knowing that whatever the details of the settlement are, that they have something to move forward with, that they can keep their son alive. But I do not think this takes away any merit or value of the indictment against the officers. It's another question of protocol, Jesse, and what we're seeing here is protocol being followed? What is the protocol today? How do we define that? What is expected? And for the defense here, arguably the strongest thing that can be said or presented is, we had a strong enough tip. There was strong enough information out there that led us to believe that this was an active threat. But again, as my colleague said, you have somebody here that looks as harmless as can be, and whether there was music in his ears, whatever, we need to understand the protocol. And it's clear here that protocol, arguably, it definitely is. And at the end of the day, again, we're all humans. So playing into how we feel, how passionate we feel on these types of conversations. And that's where I have to agree with my colleague here on why some jurors are going to be a little bit more closely scrutinized or examined, even if they are looking or appearing as if they are impartial, because we do need to get to that root of, you're being fed a lot of information. What do you do with that? And at the end of the day, how are you going to weigh that? It would be. And I think there's two sides of this. If he does take the stand, it may give the jury a better idea as to what's going on in his head, or maybe what's not going on in his head. On the flip side, if he doesn't take the stand, it's that question of, well, what's really going on in his head? We don't know. And we're just going off of what we've seen, what we're being told, and asked to make a decision there. So I do agree. I think it would be interesting if he does. That's a great question. You're looking at the entire background of this defendant, or at least what you are told. So upbringing, from your own experiences. What happens if you are raised in an environment that you necessarily did not agree with? And moving forward, as you grow into your adult years, is what kind of education did you have? What was around you? The media here has played, unfortunately, a very big part in what people think they know or what people think they believe in. So if the insanity defense does not work here, Jesse, I still think that playing into how can we humanize him? What can we do to better understand what goes on inside a person's head is going to be crucial here, which is, takes us back to our earlier point of what happens if the defendant does in fact. Again, another great question, Jesse. For this case, it's so crucial to be able to use this type of strike because you want to keep in mind the balance of somebody who understands that, yes, the death penalty is an option, and understanding that if the punishment doesn't fit the crime, then that may not be something they want to do. But somebody who has just enough of an open mind to say, I'm willing to listen to both sides here, but I also need to keep in line the idea that, we need to preserve life as much as we can and make sure that sentencing is fair. So I think the strategy here is, again, playing into the emotions of, I apologize on my camera. We need to play into the emotions
so small.
of the jury.
There we go. Yeah, you're back. Yeah, look, and remember, they only have
Jesse, having the perfect balance and understanding what does perfect mean. You need to have that balance. You need to have that balance of somebody who is just interested enough, but also disinterested enough to where they have the ability to really think for themselves here. And, if we're looking at this particular juror member that's being examined, as my colleague said, all the right questions. Right. All the right questions are being answered. But the problem is the types of answers for somebody like this, in my opinion, is a wild card. And I don't want a wild card on my jury.